Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is Sunday, and I hope everybody is having a wonderful week or had a wonderful week. Welcome to He Set Me Free. My name is Robert. You know, it's been a very interesting week whenever it comes to doing rideshare. This week, I drove quite a bit for Uber, and the reason for that was because I couldn't get any rides on Lyft. And I think a lot of that had to do with because my driving score was lower than my acceptance rating. But driving score is not supposed to affect, according to them, your ability to get rides. Now there was a couple different reasons for that. Is because I had I had a cancellation this week where a lady was belligerent, and I canceled the ride. I told her I said I would not accept the ride. Then I declined 2 rides. But then something that they don't say, because the app now says keep your car clean for service flags. What they don't tell you is you could incur service flags for canceling rides. Because I had another cancellation a couple weeks ago where I tried to call the passenger and Lyft would not connect so that I could talk to the passenger. So I was forced to cancel after 15 minutes. I talked about this in a previous video. So there goes 2 points right there. So now my cancellation, and see the thing is whenever you go in and you check your driving score and then you click and then you check your acceptance, they constantly change the rules. See, now service flags are at 4. They were at 6 the other day. Just like acceptance rating was at 90%. Now it's at 2 or 92%. So I was forced to drive for for Uber a lot this week. Couldn't get any rides, and the rides that I did get were rides that no other driver would accept. Now something else that I noticed too while driving on Lyft, they were taking heavy amounts of money. Today I made $99 and some change. To make that $99 between Uber and Lyft, I drove 114 miles. That's not too bad. But whenever you look at the actual numbers, the driving to and the actual trip itself with passenger and car, there was a stark difference by about 34 miles. In other words, I was driving more with passenger in car than I was driving to pick them up, which is actually a good thing, because that makes your earnings better, especially whenever it comes to Uber. But there was something else that was very unique about this week, and I think a lot of it has to do with the federal holiday being on Wednesday. It threw the week off. It was literally like 65% of Waco decided to take the week off. Rides were very, very low. Another reason why I was forced to drive for Uber. But after I got done with Uber, I started noticing that the rides were starting to fall. I had a good ride first off. Then they sent me to another one. Passenger didn't show. Canceled the ride. Got paid more than what I would have in trip. Passenger requested the ride again, did a U-turn, came back around. They canceled the ride. I got the standard cancellation fee, which is $3.75. And then I had a couple other rides, and money wasn't too bad, I guess. I had one short ride. But the one thing that I did notice with Uber this week was there was a ton of short rides, which devastates earnings. 90% of my rides yesterday on Uber, and I do mean 90%, and Friday too, was all rides under $5. Mainly Friday. Friday was the telltale day. But it was better than what I got on Lyft. Lyft, the one thing that I really noticed with Lyft, and I think it was Friday, could have been Saturday, was that they was manipulating the ride. It was yesterday. What they were doing was And this is the tricky part if you are not paying attention. So it would come across at how many miles to pick up. So I would take shortcuts. And I've talked about AI in previous videos. What it did was there was one particular ride, and today I even noticed it, 15 miles to pick up. So I went the shortest route. That was the route in mileage that they gave me. If I would have took the interstate, it would have been 2 miles more. Now, something else that they do too to hide pickup is what they do is they subtract the miles off of the drop off and add it. Well, in reality, what they do is, it's kind of hard to explain. They will shorten the pickup, hide it, and they'll do one of two things. They'll pause while you're driving so that you don't know, and the pickup's actually farther than it is. And I talked about that in a video, because if you watch the little app odometer, it'll pause. It'll literally stop, and then it'll pick back up again. Kind of like what wait time does sometimes when you're waiting for a passenger. So the pickup was 17 miles, but the actual drop-off said 13 miles, but it was actually 11 and a half. So what it looked like that they did was they evened out the two numbers, okay? But in reality, what it was, the drop-off was shorter and the pickup was longer. That's why I said you have to pay attention whenever these rides come across. Because what they'll do is they will literally make you think that you're going crazy. And Saturday, all my rides were like that. The pickup was farther than the app indicated. All right? That's how that they get you. And typically the telltale sign with that is the pickup and the drop-off mileage will be really close together. I'm talking about, if not even together. Whenever you see something like that, that should throw up a red flag automatically. Because what they're doing is they're covering up the fact that there's something not right about that trip. But I had a ride on Lyft yesterday morning that I took someone to Austin Airport. Came across $99 and some change. I'll take it. It's my first ride of the day. I don't know what the day's going to be like. And compared to the history of all week, of course, I jumped on it. But then after I dropped the passenger off, and I actually looked at the trip, there was something off. See, what Lyft does is with these 10% turbos, they hide the actual price of the trip. Because whether it be 10, 20, 30, or 30%, you don't know what the actual price of the trip is. Well, the actual price of the trip was $89.93. So with this trip alone, I established a pattern with Lyft whenever it comes to long distance trips. Temple, $32. Austin, $89. DFW Airport, $91. You're not going to earn anything more than that whenever it comes to, in Waco, these three locations, unless the passenger's willing to pay more. That's all you're going to get. So they hide the actual price with the 10% turbo. You know, because it'll say turbo included. Okay, well, how much was the actual price? You don't know. Nobody on this green earth would accept taking someone to Austin Airport for $89.93. Wouldn't happen. But the incentive was the 10% turbo fee. And then the wait time and the toll returns. Because you cross two tolls going to the airport. Unfortunately enough, I have a toll tag on my car. So these are just little things that you really need to know about Lyft. At least with Uber, and I am not promoting Uber, you can do the math on your trip and find out exactly what you're going to make. Now, sometimes there's a little bit of an increase, and it will show inside the app because it'll say added wait time. is typically like pennies. It's not even worth even figuring in, to be quite honest. But that's the nature of the beast. All right, we all know that Uber robs us. They make no qualms about it. But at least you can figure up the math. With Lyft, it's like my previous video. It's like looking into a crystal ball. You don't know. But I've put on my other laptop right here, Windows Excel, and with certain programming, I can look at trends. And it's very, very helpful. It gives me a real-time look at the information given. And I would highly recommend people keeping spreadsheets, because if you do it right, you can keep real-time mileage that you're driving, to pick up, to drop off, total mileage. That helps in determining how much you're actually making, or how many miles do you have to drive to make that money. Okay, and it also shows, okay, averages of trip to make the money, and you can start to look for a little bit of patterns there. But you can also keep track of your real-time earnings. On Lyft, unless you drop somebody off, you can't see, or at a stop, you can't see that earning. But by keeping the information, then you can start to look over time what the numbers look like. And by me switching over to Excel, which is more complicated than Google Sheets, I can look over a 30-day period and say, okay, and start to look for trends. You can do a lot more with Excel than you can with Google Sheets. Google Sheets has not been around as long as Excel has. So Excel is a paid subscription of $7 and some change. I don't mind it, because as long as it allows me to do the data that I need, it's not a big deal. So when you're ever out on these roads, be aware of everything that I come to y'all with periodically, and you'll start to see the signs depending on the market that you're in. A lot of markets, Uber shows the price of how much they're going to get paid. I don't get to see that here at all, because a lot of drivers would turn down rides if they knew exactly. But if you've been doing it long enough, you know exactly what you're going to earn. But like I said yesterday, whenever I posted to X it was Friday, that within the first 3 rides, I know exactly how my day is going to be on Uber. And subsequently, you kind of get that picture on Lyft, because you'll have a high and you'll have a low. Typically, when you have that high, you're not on Lyft, you're not going to earn anything more than that. But then whenever you identify your low, you add all those numbers together, and that's what your average ride's going to be. You can also look at the miles to pick up and the miles to drop off, and you can even look at how many minutes. And you can literally forecast statistically what your day's going to be like. I kid you not. Numbers don't lie. The math is there. And the same thing holds with Uber. You can literally tell what your day is going to look like. You may have some high numbers in there, but look at your overall. And whenever you see a repeating average high and an average low, that is the number where they put you at. A part of me says that with them using AI now, the moment you log on, they've already predetermined what your day is going to be like based off of past information. Now, whenever I tweeted out to X yesterday on Uber and about Lyft, and I put at Uber and at Lyft, it used to be 10 rides a day equaled $85. It used to be. What I've noticed this week, 10 rides now gets you $65. And then I said, I wonder if Uber has cut rates again, just like they did third quarter of last year, this year. You have to wonder, because something's not adding up. Just like with Lyft this week, nothing for pickups, and I do mean nothing. And there was no bonus hours, and I couldn't get any rides. Now there wasn't. I think there's an explanation for that. One, the week was off, but two, because I made so much money with Lyft over the past couple weeks that they purposely and willfully attempted to get me to decline rides to lower my acceptance rating because I've had such high ratings. And when that didn't work, they just didn't give me any rides altogether, which forced me to drive for Uber. Make no mistake, they know when you're driving for another app because they are still following you wherever you go. And the telltale sign of that is whenever one sends you into an area, and then subsequently, whenever you log on to the other app, you're going back into that area. It's not a coincidence. They are following you. And in Lyft's case, or in Uber's case, even if you turn GPS off, they are still following you. I have found that out the hard way. And Lyft too, for that matter. Because it was Friday. It was no coincidence that I drove for Lyft. I logged off of Lyft, and I'll be dang. And my GPS was off on Uber. And whenever I logged on to Uber, they sent me to the exact same area, exact same apartment complexes 3 times. I cannot make that stuff up. Just like I said, they follow you. I don't know how they do it, because technically they're not supposed to be able to if you go into and turn off your GPS and say never. The only thing that you can do is hard log off the app. And then when you log back on with your phone number, get the code and start back up again. That's the only way that I know to circumvent it altogether. But beyond that, there's no plausible explanation because it just doesn't make sense. Just like Lyft give me rides in Northeast Waco and North Waco. Whenever I didn't start my day out with them, I was on Uber the entire time for 6 rides. But yet, where did they start me off at? The very same area I'm trying to get out of. That entire area, North and Northeast Waco. Yeah. That's where they stuck me. And then they sent me into Northwest Waco. The rides that I got today were the rides that nobody else wanted. And one ride, in fact, they had to pay me more because they could not get that passenger picked up. So they offered more money so that I would accept the ride. Because whenever I went in and looked at my numbers today, they took nothing. I got 100%. So it was actually 103% by the math. So, hope everybody has a wonderful day. Y'all be blessed. Stay safe out on those roads. Leave a comment. Share my videos. Like my videos so that you can get more of my content. And I will keep y'all abreast as much as I possibly can. Y'all have a wonderful day. And we will talk to y'all later.